Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's August 27th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And just a quick look at our daily chart. You can see it was kind of it was really mostly an up day, but we backed off the highs considerably before the day was over and closed back below this resistance area here, which is close to the 6,500 area. That's been really strong resistance. We tend to sell off every time we've gotten around that price level. So, and today was no difference. We actually didn't quite make a new high here. I don't think we made a new high. Let me just verify that before I tell you that. Just looking at it, I don't think we did. 6508.75, 6505.50. So no, we did not make a new high today. We came close to reaching the previous high, but we still sold off before the day was over, or backed off before the day was over. I wouldn't say we sold off, but we backed off. And there was some news that came out after hours that was pretty negative. I think it was some of the chip manufacturers or something, and prices have continued to sell off. So will we see a correction here? It's hard to say. Possible, but as of now, I mean, it was mostly an up day that backed off the highs. Well, let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart, and you'll get a better idea of what I mean when you can look at that chart. But let's flip over there. Okay, here's our 2,000 tick chart. You can see we started off like usual, looking like it's going to be kind of a sideways day, and we had this resistance up here, and we pushed through, pulled back, took off again, made a new high. Notice this was an up channel, and this trend line was in play till about a little after 11 o'clock. We got a break, and then we rallied to a new high, sold off that, rallied back, sold off that, and before the close we had this craziness over here, which I think was related to the some of the earnings reports after hours that came out for some of the chip makers or something, and you can see it looks pretty bearish over here. Although we, normally we'll take a lot of that back, and we did take most of that back, kind of reset, and we took up. Well, I'd say we took a little bit of that back before 5 o'clock, and since 5 o'clock we've sold off a little more. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, but if that resistance continues to hold, we're probably going to see a correction, a bigger correction at some point. We'll have to see. So, was this a range day? I would say this was mostly an up day because we really didn't sell off till after hours here. And you can see, even though we closed much lower than than the highs of the day, we still closed up for the day because we closed. Well, actually, this is showing the close here. Maybe I just looked at the daily chart wrong in the end. I was thinking we closed down or up for the day, but it doesn't look like we did because we closed right in here, and that's down for the day. So I must have looked at the daily chart incorrectly, but I could have sworn. Let's flip back over there. Well, this daily chart definitely says we closed higher than here, but it doesn't show that on the other chart. So I don't know. Evidently the closing time on this daily chart's a little bit different, maybe. Maybe I don't have the settings right. I'll check that to be sure. Not that that's that important, but if we closed up, and that's definitely telling you something important. That's some important information. But according to the other chart, it doesn't look like we did close up. So anyway, I'll take a look at that. Maybe my settings are wrong or something, but I'll figure that out later. Okay, here we are. You can see it does show we closed lower here than what we did yesterday, because here's yesterday's close. So I don't know. I'll check on that. But anyway, you can see the trend up we had. We had the break, moved to a new high, then we sold off again, rallied up one more time, and then had this craziness before the close. So Anyway, let's zoom in here. Pretty nice trading day. There's several nice trades here. I mean, right out of the gate, there's a nice short here. And that might have been all you needed for the day because you could catch a runner on this, the whole 9 yards, depending on how you played it. And it's an easy trade. Uh, you can see the trend working up. The close outside, the big bearish bar, second entry short away from the EMA. I mean, that's a textbook second entry short. Lots of resistance up here. You could argue there's a triple test there. You can see that resistance across there. Lower high compared to this high. I mean, you got it all right there. And if you catch that, that may be all you need for the day. But notice we're working down, close outside, move to a new low. There was a second entry here. If you took that, well, there's not enough room there to scalp out. You would have had a loser. But, there's definitely a failed break lower there. So I'd wait on a higher low on that, which you don't get till here, and then you get a good trade. And again, if you catch this, you may catch the low of the day, basically. Another great setup. And you've got your break and a couple of swings to a new low, then a higher low. The new low here didn't have a signal bar, so there's no way you want to try that. And then like I said, you're normally better off to wait on the higher low. And that comes here, and it's off to the races from there. So if you caught either one of those, it's probably the only trade you needed today. And then you're working up, close outside, a couple of swings to a new high. I didn't mark this short here. You actually got two chances, but on both of these, I mean, you should wait on the lower high, basically, and that doesn't come till here. I didn't mark this one, but really I should have at least made that green. I mean, you could argue for that to even be red. I mean, it's a bearish bar. It is a doji type bar, but it's bearish, and it's a lower high, and it's the first break of that down channel. So you could have gone short there, and it's another good move. And you might even argue for this one because it's a second entry and it's a failed breakout. So I think you could even argue for that one to be green. And see, I didn't even mark either one of those originally because you had such two nice trades to start off. But then you get the failed breakout here and you get a double bottom, which is basically a higher low. And it is a second entry on a bigger picture. Notice this. First entry moves down, a break above. That's a second entry. It's a failed break lower, a second entry long. It confirms this key entry point across here. Lots of reasons to like that trade. There's even a higher low here, but it's not a good enough signal bar. This is an inside bar. And then we continue working up. I don't see anything else I really like going up there. I think they're all too risky until here. You get a first entry and then a second entry, and you pretty much tested this, 3 times across here. Really, you could probably argue that's just a double test, but it's a second entry, first break of this channel. It looks like we're in a bigger uptrend. I like going long there. I mean, I looked at this more as resistance than I did as a range because we've been trending since just after the regular session opened. So we're definitely in an uptrend here. And then we do make a new high here. I'm a little leery of shorting this now at this point. You definitely want a lower high and you don't get anything like that. And then you turn up, you pull back. Now you get a triple test here and you also get a second entry long. This actually breaks lower and turns up. You got to wait for this to close. Don't be trading it on the engulfing bar. But that's a second entry long. You can go long one tick above that bar, and I like that trade. You get a close outside. This is another second entry, but you got to go long right into all that resistance. Not a good idea. It would have worked in the end, but not a good idea. Then you pull back and you get another triple test here and another second entry long. You also get a close outside the new low. Another nice entry. Easy scalp. Nothing more than that. You might have said, okay, well, we got a lower high here, but it's just such a big bar. You might have traded that on the engulfing bar, but there's not a lot of room there to scalp out. So I think you just have to skip that. You You can see there's only a point there, and it could bounce there. It bounced there twice already, so there's a good chance, or actually 3 times already. So there's a good chance it bounces there again, and it does break lower here, and it bounces right off the key entry point. So I like that one. Nice signal bar, failed break lower, still in an uptrend off a key entry point. Just take that trade. That's a good trade. We run up, make a new high. We do get another lower high here, a little ways from the EMA, but I don't think you want to be, there's a break of this new channel up, but there's no new high yet. So I think you want to wait until you get something better. We're in an uptrend here, and it's been pretty strong. It turns out this would have been a nice move down, but it's just not worth risking. We're in an uptrend, and one of the worst mistakes you can make is trying to pick tops and bottoms. Stick with the trend in most cases, or wait till you get a downtrend. Now you got one working down, you get your first close outside. It's tempting right here to want to go long again, but that looks really congested. We are a little ways away from the EMA. We are in an uptrend, so at some point it's probably going to try to go higher for a retest, but I think you need a higher low there. You could argue for that to be green, just like I marked the other one down here, because we do have a break, close outside the new low, and you do have a 2-bar matching low way away from the EMA, so maybe you go long there, but I'd sit tight, and the next thing you know, you get a nice second entry short that's easy to read. You got a close outside the new high here, then a lower high with a second entry short, another bearish. You may not have had time to get into that one because it moved really quick. If you're using your chart buttons, maybe you get in it, but that thing drops down. And then, of course, it makes another new low, and then it's off to the races. Again, you're better off to wait on the higher low. That doesn't come to way up here, and that doesn't qualify as an entry for a higher low. You get your 2 legs up, but you don't quite have a new high yet, so be careful with shorts. There is a second entry here, but it's not one you can take. You might argue there's another entry here, but it's just a first entry. You made a higher high, but you still haven't made a new high yet, and you're most likely going to. So I don't think you want to take that either. And what this turns out to be is a spike and channel up. And that's why you got to be careful. Until you get that new high in, anything can happen. So I think it's worth drawing this new trend. And you get another opportunity for a second entry here. Notice the new high, it pulls back, you break higher and get a first entry, it turns straight down again and then reverses and turns back up. Again, don't try to trade this on the engulfing bar. It actually doesn't break higher, so you can't. Just wait for this to close. A break above that's a second entry. I like that one. And off we go again. And you really just don't get another chance to enter this. You get a break here, move to a new high. And so now you're just looking for a possible short. Now, I didn't mark this one either, but I think you could argue that's a triple test. The problem, and you do have a break here at a new high. This is shifted a little. The problem is it's close. I think this is shifted on me a little bit. I think I originally had it more like this. And it's, do we have a break there? And it's hard to say. So going short there is suspect in my opinion. It is. We did try to go higher once, twice. I don't know if you could consider that a triple test really, because we're still up here and but there is a little break higher that fails. And you are way away from the EMA. What I would want is another lower high here that sets up, and you don't get that. It just turns down. You kind of work sideways and it turns down. So that's the problem there. I think you have to sit tight on this. In fact, I think you can draw that and see that we're just working, in a little range there. And I don't think you got room to get out there or anything. So just sit tight. Yeah, you miss a big move, but better to miss a move than to get fooled. To me, this looks like a big overshoot. I've tried every way to make this fit. If you draw it down here, what accounts for this not getting to the midline? You can't do it. So is that the channel? Okay, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and say that's the midline, but then there's your channel. And notice when we come back in, we bounce off that again. So this looks like a sure big overshoot to me. So, and there's plenty of room back to the EMA. I like that one to go long as a higher low on a big overshoot. And you don't know that it's going to take off. You're just looking to ride it back to the EMA, and there's plenty of room there. Try to get a scalp out of it. But this thing takes off, and that takes you into 230. I don't see anything else after that. We're just in that uptrend. Now, you could hang on to a runner here and manage that well into the gray area here, but I wouldn't take any new trades after 230. That's kind of the rule. If it's right at 230 within a minute or two and you get a really good setup, don't be afraid to take that. But just a few minutes after 230, don't take anything new. And again, you can manage a runner because sometimes you get some big moves, but you see what would have happened. You could get hung up in some of this craziness over here. And if you just make sure you follow, you're using safety stops, and and if you do that, then you get stopped out here, most likely well before you hit all this. So anyway, there it is. A pretty nice trading day. Several nice trades today. Several second entries that were right off a key entry point or whatever. So I mean, the thing I like is you had these two nice trades right out of the gate, and you probably only needed one of them, depending on whether you trade runners or not. If you don't trade runners, you might have needed both those trades, but that's probably just those two would probably give you what you need. But if you catch a runner, you're not only getting what you need for your day's salary, you're probably erasing a bunch of losers, and you might, a trade like these, you might erase, a week's worth or a month's worth of losers. So that's the beauty of runners is you catch a big move, you can erase a lot of mistakes. And if you're really good, you're not making a lot of mistakes, so you may not only erase your few losers, you're still adding even more profit. And that's the best of both worlds when you start getting to that point. So, if you watch my trade examples yesterday, you listen to my early disclaimer, I tell you this, watching somebody do that knows what they're doing makes it look simple. And it's really not that hard once you learn how to do it. But don't think it's as simple as it looks, because that's a lot of years of training and understanding price movements and experience watching prices print to a chart. 25 plus years, think about that. I figured it up on my hours before, and it's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours that I have sitting at this screen watching prices print to a chart. And I don't care if you've got 3 or 4 years of doing this all day, every day, it doesn't compare to that type of experience. And I'm not saying I'm the best trader out there by any means. Don't take that the wrong way. What I'm saying is I have a lot more experience than most of you watching these videos, so don't think that as easy as it looks, it's always that easy to do. And again, once you understand price movements and you get the experience of reading this chart and you get pretty good at it, it actually does get easier. A lot easier. And but it's not as easy as it looks in those videos because again, I've been doing it a long time, and it is easier for me because I just have that experience. And so just keep that in mind. It's anybody can learn this, anybody can do this, but it's not as easy as you think. And something that I found interesting, I recently took an IQ test. And I'm not even going to tell you my IQ test, not because I'm embarrassed to tell you because I'm stupid or because I'm smart. I just think that's something personal. I'm not going to tell you what my IQ score was, but I will tell you this. I scored off the charts on, I'm trying to remember what they called it, which would have a lot to do with charts, seeing things on charts. I scored like in the 99% high percentile in that particular category, and it's called spatial organization or spatial something of that nature. But I scored off the charts just in that one area. And I thought it was very interesting because does that mean Does that have anything to do with my ability to read the chart that some people don't have? I don't know. I'm not the expert at any of that. If any of you are experts at those IQ tests and things like that, and you know what that means, maybe you can comment on it, and maybe it'll be helpful for other people. But I just thought it was interesting that that was my highest category, and I scored highest in that. And it does have to do with visual, using your eyes and your brain together visually to look at things. And so maybe that's why I'm pretty good at reading the chart. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not saying it is. I just thought it was interesting, and I thought it was worth mentioning. And again, I'm not trying to brag on my score, because I mean, I scored. I'm not even going to say how I scored, but it wasn't bad and it wasn't the great. I wasn't the highest score and I wasn't the lowest score, but I scored extremely high. It said the 99 percentile I scored in that. So that's like there's only 1% could score higher than that. So I must have scored almost perfect, I'm guessing, in that particular category. So I just thought that was interesting, and I'd throw it out there and use it for what you may. Does that explain why I'm a good chart reader? I don't know. I honestly don't know what it means, but I just thought it was interesting because it's a visual thing, and reading the chart is visual, and that's what I've always tried to explain to people. Everything you need is in one chart right there. It's all available. You just have to learn to see it. And it took me a long time to learn to see it. Maybe my training my eyes to see the chart helped me with the IQ test. I don't know. Is that something I was born with, or was something I developed? I don't know. Some of you that are more advanced at IQ tests could maybe answer that, because I simply don't know. I know nothing about IQ tests. I just took one and thought it was interesting. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. And believe it or not, tomorrow's Thursday. I still haven't looked at the calendar, but I'm 99% sure Monday is Labor Day, and Labor Day is always a holiday, so I'm assuming it's going to be. So I'm thinking now we're going to be taking Monday off. They'll probably send out the calendar today or Friday, and I'll look at it in between now and then. And but we'll wrap up the week tomorrow since it's Thursday, regardless. And if it is a holiday, I won't see you till Tuesday. If it is a holiday, or if it's not a holiday, I'll see you Monday. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap up today. We'll be back to do it tomorrow and wrap up the week. This is back with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.